Hey guys, and welcome back to another awesome Polytopia video. Today, I'm going to show you something special. This is a game between me and Sunny Master. Sunny Master's a Poly Champions junior player, which means he's pretty good. And in this game, I tried out an inner strategy. So, in a last video, last video that I've done quite a few days ago, I talked about how to not play Polytopia. And in that video, I tried out the Inno for the first time. And this is my third attempt at the Inno And the Inno is named after Innofunni strat. I'm gonna show you what it is off, like midway through the replay, but in this attempt, Inno really did, helped me get better at this strat, and he advised me throughout this game, so shout out to him. He's a great player, um, assumed to be one of the best or the best by quite a few people, and he is an elo champion, which means that in one of the rankings there's like 3 elo rankings, and in one of them he's top number 1. So anyway, let's begin. This is a normal dryland bottom mirror. I am playing as black Galaxy Dragon, and my opponent is playing green as Jeren Quetzalcoatl. I don't know if I said that right, but here we go. My opponent. Oh, that's me. No, I upgrade my capital, move my warrior. My opponent does the exact same thing, and so my opponent here, analyzing the land gen a bit. My opponent here gets 5 animals, which allows him to upgrade his city to his capital to level 3 without needing to get any other tech. But his village is also a little bit further away, so he misses it by 1 tile. So the spawns are actually pretty equal here. So here I go ahead, and this is the common opening, where on turn 3 you get forestry, chop 1, upgrade your capital, and upgrade your second city. This is very, very, very common opening. I recommend you do this no matter if you're playing any strategy at all. Just do this. And my opponent does pretty much the exact same thing. He gets forestry, and later next turn he's gonna chop 1 and get riding and buy a rider, which is it's the common opening, right? But here is the introduction to the Inno strategy. For the Inno strategy, you don't go for the normal opening from turn 4, where you would get riding and you would get a rider. But in this case, you just get a warrior, or a 2 depending on your spawn. But you would get a warrior, and the point of that, so my opponent here goes for normal rider, but the point of that is to rush mathematics. So here I got archery from the ruin. It didn't help me that much, but kind of did later in the game. But now I save up for mathematics, and I'm able to get, and I have 5 stars left over, which means that always upgrade level 2 cities if you can. And then I go ahead, upgrade this city. Notice how I'm going for lumber hut, because I know that I'm gonna place a sawmill spot in either of those 2 fruits to get a giant. I get an explorer, and I see that both the sawmill spots are equal, but in this case I'd rather chop 1 to create a warrior. And the thing about the Inno strat, right, is it's actually a bit more passive early on into the game, as your opponent goes for riders and roads. Riders and roads are very aggressive, expand very quickly, and the way you counter this is by getting a bunch of warriors to, defend, so you don't immediately lose. So that's what's happening here. I'm getting a bunch of warriors to, back up my exploration. And here I upgrade my city, and I'm able to get a giant. On turn 6, that's pretty good. Some cases you can get it on turn 5, but on turn 6 is also really, really nice. And here I want to turn off the shared fog now so that we can see each other's vision. Here opponent is his village density isn't treating him the best here, so he's a little bit at a disadvantage right now. And so he meets me, he sees that I got archery, sees the sawmill, knows that I got mathematics, sees the giant, knows that I have a giant, and he sees 3 cities. So he's got a very good explorer. He gains a bunch of information from that, and he upgrades. Now, if you see this situation, you see this against a normal player, you just think they're just bad at the game, because normally I tell people that you shouldn't go for mathematics because what ends up happening is that you only get a quarter of the map. Three quarters goes to your opponent with just riders and roads, and if you don't play it correctly, that's what will happen. And it's a fair assumption to think that mathematics isn't good, but one of the best players plays it, so so anyway, yeah, that's why I wanted to learn it, because this strategy isn't worse or better than the ride and road strategy. It is in some cases, it's worse in some cases, it's better in some cases. You're gonna need to learn, you know, when to go for it and when not to. But it's good to know both of the strategies, and that's what this video is gonna introduce you to. There's an alternative strategy other than just rides and roads. So here I meet my opponent and I get 5 stars and I'm able to upgrade this city and I get a bunch of points. Notice how I'm very close to the 2,900. I'm very close to the 3,000 point threshold, and that's intentional. You see, when you cross over 1,000 early into the game, over 1,000, over 2,000, over 3,000, your opponent gains an extra 2 stars when meeting you. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm keeping it at under 3,000, so that way when my opponent meets me, he only gets 7 stars instead of 9. But my opponent had already vision on me, so it was kind of useless, but it was still worth the try, right? And so yeah, that's why it's one of the reasons why you shouldn't get a tech if you're not going to use it, because sometimes it actually gets your opponent at 2 extra stars. And those light things really do start to add up. And here, okay, I really should not run. So here opponent goes ahead, gets roads, and makes a very, very big mistake when it comes to playing Riders and Roads, and that is going for Workshop in this city. Now, when you play Riders and Roads, you need to go ahead and be aggressive with your exploration against your opponent, because in this position, the only advantage that Riders and Roads have is that their exploration. They're exploring very fast, but going for economy will just get you nowhere with Riders and Roads. Math is better at economy than Riders and Roads. So what you should have done here is went for Explorer, because now it's gonna take him like 3 extra turns to get all those cities in the corner. And that really starts to add up. And here my opponent makes another mistake. He decides to move the warrior southwest instead of just east. And the difference here is that this warrior is on a forest. Now, normally, that wouldn't matter, but I have archery, and archery gives me a defense bonus when I'm on forests. So what happens next is I go ahead and kill a warrior, and I now have a defense bonus on my warrior. And basically what that means is it's harder to kill, and it's just an extra inconvenience to my opponent. And notice here how, again, with that lumber hut, instead of harvesting fruits or animals, I go for the lumber hut because, again, setting up a sawmill spot. I don't know whether I'm gonna put it, up or upright or down left, but I get the vision, and now I decide that I'm gonna put it down, southwest of Groark, and you see that's why I get the lumber huts. And here I go ahead and get another giant on turn 8. and I move the archer here. And the thing is that when I got my vision, I saw that this warrior was going for the village. You when you get better, you can just predict where your opponent is gonna go. Like it's very rarely that your opponent is gonna go like onto the fruit to the left or down. So because his best option is to go onto the forest here. So what I do here is I go for border growth. Now those two things on the first note might not align together, but once he gets the city, this eliminates a chance for counterplay because this city can no longer you can no longer get a giant here unless you use like two monuments. Point is that it's going to be way harder to, you know, get a giant and defend the city, and it makes it way easier for me to get it. I'm also able to get a giant here to, pressure it even more. So we go. This warrior literally two riders would have been able to kill an undefended warrior, but here he's defended because opponent a turn ago went southwest instead of east. And here I get a giant. As I said, deciding for that sawmill spot. When you play the inner strat, you really need to think where your sawmills are gonna go before you like even capture the city. Like it's sometimes it's all right to not do it, but the better you get, the more quicker you will be able to do it. And first of all, I recommend you to do this in 24-hour games in the beginning before live games, and then move on to live games. Calculating whether you can get a giant there or not, and the inner strat involves quite a bit of math, and depending on your spawn, what to do and where to go. And here I realized that, oh, wait a second. So actually, I don't know if I blunder here. No, I don't. So here I realize that this warrior can be giant pushed, because if you know the push directions, you know that the warrior will go. Don't remember where. Let's put it. I think it was on the BS, so it'll go northwest of Arkfla, and we'll be able to siege next turn. And that's why I hit with this warrior right now, and I don't get an archer because I realized that next turn I can just giant push this warrior and actually um kill this one and get the village. And here, look at this move. This is a very very interesting micro move because here you do not attack, you move. This guy is one HP. If you heal it, it just dies. But I can whack it and deal like 1 damage, but I can also move it. And West, not only does it reveal one tile, but it also forces my opponent to make their warrior more useless. So, hold on, I'll get into getting mathematics later. But here, my opponent, what he ends up doing is he ends up going ahead and. Okay, hold on, yeah, there we go. He ends up killing the warrior. And it's much. This move is much better than just, attacking and making it at 9 health, because this warrior is going to be useless for a couple of turns. If you hit it, you can just heal and it's fine. It's useful again, or you don't even need to. You don't even need to Well, you don't even need to heal. It'll be still really good. But this little warrior, by exploring, is making itself an inconvenience to my opponent. And covering a bit into mathematics, here my opponent goes ahead and he buys mathematics. The problem with that, it's a very massive problem. Don't get mathematics if you go for riders and roads early on. You cannot commit to either riders and roads or mathematics. Here, organization would have been way better. Having a look at over here, we see that organization would have been what? 8. You would have been at 18 stars. You could have upgraded the city of Toflak 19 stars. Upgraded Lenark, you would have been at 3 stars. Chop 1, upgrade the city. Use your monument, your giant monument to upgrade it 5 stars, get a warrior and get a rider and a warrior, and your position will be way more pleasant if you get organization here. You still get this. You still get this giant here, but you get so much more. So yeah, mathematics here was a massive blunder. And here my opponent blunders yet again. Now, first of all, you can see that he can't see the giant, to be honest, but he can also see the archer. He knows that this rune is just not gonna hold. But so what he should have done here is capture the city and just chop both of these forests because he knows he can't hold it. But my opponent instead goes ahead and just doesn't capture the city and goes ahead and kills the warrior on the rune. So there we go. We see my opponent is getting a giant to back it up, and here I still decide to go with my idea of pushing the warrior. Actually, no. Here I push the rider instead, and I get riding because I said a turn ago that you should commit to either riders and roads and mathematics. Well, that's not so true for mathematics because have a look at my economy. All of the cities produced at least one giant. Actually, all of the cities produced one giant. My economy is amazing. My economy is booming. His economy is way worse. His economy, he's got a level 1 city, a few level 3s, and only one level 5. The thing is that I can afford going for both. He cannot. And that's the massive difference. So, you guys trying, and here opponent goes ahead and tries to find villages, but he doesn't have the vision, so he can't see where the villages are. He would have found them turns ago with using roads and an explorer, but it's just no use for him. And here he finally gets a giant, but it's just not good. I mean he finally gets a second giant. He gets a giant in his capital, but here is just he's throwing all his advantage away by not going for artisan roads, and his slow exploration is really gonna take a toll later in the game as I start taking advantage of me having artisan roads and having the superior economy and being able to go go with the giants. And here what I so first of all I got roads, and in this position I giant pushed a giant and then I roaded it onto the city. Look at this maneuver. You thought this giant at the beginning of the turn just couldn't make it. But with the right combination of moves, it can, because giant pushing and oh yeah, by the way, I knew where the giant was gonna be pushed because of the rider that was pushed a turn ago. Over here I created the rider and it got pushed. So I knew the giant was gonna be pushed there. And there we go, and I get the city, and putting giants near cities is like the best thing ever. Like, it's very, very hard to get a giant of the city. Normally, when you put like a rider or a warrior, riders and roads just take care of that. This city is just not gonna be. You can't unsiege the city. Can't prevent me from capturing it. And my opponent is desperately trying to, you back up the use of mathematics. But here, just a giant and 6 riders would have killed a full giant, and this giant is coming. Like, organization here would have been way better because math doesn't actually do anything here. It just slows you down because it costs more. The sawmills cost more. I get a trade rune, unluckily for me, and I connect everything up. And immediately, before moving any of my units, I go for an explorer. Always do this. If you're gonna go for the explorer, do it pretty much at the first glance. Go for ruins first, then explorers, and then move your units. So my opponent here has to basically leave the city open. If you're wondering why, well, it's because I'll just get free kills. I'll get the killer monument, and it'll be way worse for him then, because I get another giant. And here the giants are just coming, and it's and the thing is that in this position he's actually perfectly safe from giants. He's actually pretty well protected, and the only threat here is not the giants, it's the economy that I have. I have a amazing, way superior economy than his. So I'm able to, get knights quicker, get cloaks quicker, and soon he's just gonna be outgunned with the amount of different units I have, and I'll just go into late game way quicker than him. And that's the problem with going for math instead of organization. It puts him behind. Now, in some cases, I just want to say that it is said that organization is bad for Bardar, but it's only in some cases. Actually doesn't go for organization. From what I heard, he says organization is bad, but you know, I think it's good in some cases and bad in some cases. I would agree with him, but there are always exceptions when it comes to the game. And here I got a population ruin, and it's just again, look at that, roading with the giants and getting all the cities. And by the way, opponent could have easily gotten that city if he went for explorer. You see how I talk about punishing moves, and because he didn't get an explorer, he didn't see the city, and he could have easily just taken 2 turns instead of like 4 to get to it, and he would have gotten it. Would have gotten this city, and all of a sudden it was gonna be like a 10v7, and it would have been way harder for me to win. Also, if you're wondering, yes, that was a misclick. That was a complete misclick. Opponent got a little bit unlucky with that city. And here I'm just keeping passive at this moment. I am just going for economy. Like, my opponent just cannot break through. But the thing is that because they went for mathematics, they screwed up their economy so much that I'm in front of them, and all I have to do is just pull it into late game. Because I have a few more cities than them, and just nothing they can get to. And look at that. Using a full monument to get a giant, where he could have just gotten a giant with just organization. I mean, to be fair enough, he needed to use math as well, but with math and organization, he could have just gotten that city to a giant instead of using a monument. That's the problem with going math. It's so slow. If you don't know how to play it correctly, you just don't do it. That the strat, doesn't always go for mathematics because it doesn't always work. It's all about positional. It's all about, if your spawn doesn't have many forests, don't go for math. But this video is supposed to, hopefully introduce you to it. And here I decided to go for an explorer instead of a workshop. I mean, to go for a workshop instead of an explorer, because um I don't know, because I think that was more of a blunder, to be honest. Again, this is my third attempt at playing it, and again, look at this amazing economy. I'm just getting giants in every single city. Most of my cities are at least level 5, except for like Lingo or Linov. But my economy is just amazing. And my opponent makes another very, very, very typical mistake. And that is getting getting a unit, like getting a technology and barely using it. Like, you see how in this position, you see how here I would upgrade my city, but I would stop at that. I would stop at getting 2 giants. I wouldn't get border growth in this city just for a better economy and for 1 star per turn. Here, I would instead, I instead got a few riders because I need to keep up a unit each turn. My opponent here only got a single unit, barely used barely used any of his technologies. And here I get a giant here, and again, getting a few units each turn. And now for the because he got knights this turn, he actually lost this city because he just couldn't protect it. He couldn't, get a giant because he didn't have enough stars for math and for organization. He couldn't defend it with riders because he just didn't get any units. Don't do this. If you're gonna get a tech, you need to be using it quite a bit, especially in the late game when you have like this position and it's like turn 15. You need to make sure to use, use get some units each turn. And here I end my turn with 33 stars per turn and 33 stars and 53 stars per turn. And the point of this is I'm thinking about either getting cloaks or getting chivalry. But either of these cost 53 stars, and I'm gonna have 33 stars left over, so I'm gonna be able to get 4 units into the game, or a bunch of minor units and a few of these units to, you know, I'm gonna be able to keep spamming them instead of just using up all of my stars for a single unit, which isn't even that good. Like that knight just can't break through. I mean, show me a place where it can break through. Like, there's just nothing. Actually, you can break through, but thankfully my opponent didn't see that. Yeah, well, point is, see this right over here? Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, we can't break through. Never mind. But yeah, if he placed it correctly, he could have broken through. I didn't have the vision, which is why getting a workshop in Aurora was a mistake. But yeah, here, this is the introduction to the Inno I'll make quite a few more videos on it because it's just a very, very unique strategy, and very thankful for Innofunni to helping me get better at this. He's a very great player, and it was a very nice game. And this is the very first time I win with this strat. So hopefully you learned something from this video, and hopefully you enjoyed watching it. There's quite a few things in this video, in each video, I guess, that I don't elaborate on. But if you do have any questions, ask me in the comments, and I'll gladly reply. And the thing about Innostrand is that it's actually very, very adaptive. Like, in some cases you get archery, in some cases you get roads very quickly. It's just, that's why it's so unique. It's very hard to play, but once you learn to play it, it's just amazing because you become a really good player at it. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you again tomorrow.